welcome to this month's Connect with ControlM. My name is Javier Núñez, and I am a ControlM technical support analyst based in Europe. Our topic today is troubleshooting connectivity in ControlM Enterprise Manager version 9.0.18 and above, where we'll review a couple of situations you may face, what tools you have available to identify and resolve the problem quickly, and minimize the downtime and the impact in your business. During this webinar, we will talk briefly about the ControlM Enterprise Manager architecture and the changes implemented in the communication layer. After that, I will discuss the two different scenarios we selected for this session and what tools we have available for the troubleshooting of these problems. Finally, we'll run a live demo showing the problems and what we can do to identify and fix the problems. Starting version 9.0.18, we introduced a change within the product architecture in the communication layer, where we move from CORBA to Thrift. That means we use an API to communicate between the EM server and the clients through the default ports 18080 in case of HTTP and 8443 in case of HTTPS. And as a result, the web server becomes a critical piece of the product, offering different web applications such as self-service, the application integrator job designer, and more important, the middleware that allows all the communications between all parties. Those with version 9.0.18 or higher installed may have noticed CORBA still is in the product, and that's because it's still used for some internal communication between some components. So let's talk about real problems. And for this first scenario, all the users lose the communication with the ControlM Enterprise Manager after a corruption in the Thrift API web application. This problem prevents any type of communication between the EM server and the EM clients, either using the interfaces like the EM CWCM or either using any of the EM utilities. To troubleshoot and confirm this problem, we'll use a script which validates the status of our web server, in addition of a couple of URLs that we'll talk in detail during the demo. Let's move to the demo and discuss what we just reviewed. Okay, so in this scenario, we'll receive a call from our end user saying that they have lost the communication with the end clients or the CCM. So the first thing that we will do is to simulate the error that our end user are reporting, and we will try to log in the end client, and I can see that the error message I'm getting is "web server is down" or "can be reached." At this stage, what we will do is to go and open a browser, and we'll go to the home page, to the welcome home page of ControlM using this URL. So we will double check how this is impacting our business. If from this welcome page I try to log into the web client, I see that I'm getting the same error message, problem reaching the web server. Okay. With this error, I have a suspicion that the issue could be between the web server and the middleware Thrift API web application in this case. If we double check the application integrator, initially it seems to be working fine. Now, after we enter our password and getting the user authentication fail. Very good. The following step that we will do is to use the following URL that will show us the different components of the EM registered in our Thrift API web application. Under normal circumstances, we should see over here the web server, the CMS, and other components. And we can see that this is empty. So again, we keep we suspect about the issues between the Thrift API and the web server, but it still is not quite clear. Now, the following step we will take is to double check if our web server is running in the OS with the ps command, and I can clearly see that the EM web server is running. So I strongly suspect that the issue is in the Thrift API web apps running this script EM web status. We double check that my web server is up and running. I can see at this point that the issue is in my Thrift API. So what we will do now is to go to the directory where we have our different web application in the web server, and under web apps directory, we run in ls command. I can see the different web applications serviced by our web server, and I can see that we have the directory em3api and em3api.war. This WAR file is used to deploy this application and what we will use to resolve our problem. We'll find it in a minute. So let's move on to the em3api directory, and checking the content, I'm seeing that these have only one directory. And I recall that this directory may have more files or directory, and to confirm it, what I will do is to get access to a data collector I took from this same environment when this was working fine. And within the EM folder, I have a file called file list, which all the files existing in my EM installation, in my EM server installation, and I can, comparing this listing and the content of my directory, I can see that originally this should have 3 directories: meta-inf, web-inf, and IDL. And I can see that I have just meta-inf. That indicates that my em3api web apps is corrupted. Now, once I identify the root cause, these are the steps that we will take to resolve the problem. The first thing that we will do is moving up one directory, and once I confirm that I have my WAR file, I'll proceed to either delete the directory em3api or move it to somewhere else. I just need that this directory doesn't exist. The following step I'll take is to bring down my configuration agent. And for that, I'll run this script, stop config agent. After type the right password, let's bring down the configuration agent. Once this is down, I'll take down my EM web server by running the script stop web server. Good. Please note that I need to run this command with the prefix EM to load the EM and EM environment and run this utility successfully. Once I have my web server down, the following step that we will take to resolve the issue is to bring it up, and during the startup, it will use the WAR file we discussed before to redeploy that web application. We will find this directory in a minute, how this was recreated and having the missing file directory now. The last step I need to take is to start my configuration agent. And now that this directory is up, we can see that my EM3F API is recreated. I can see, let me move to the directory first. And we can see over here that now I have my directories missing. The issue should be resolved. Now, let's double check and confirm that the problem is resolved. If we go back to the EMWave and I try to log in, I'm able to log in without any problem. My problem seems to be resolved. I am in. Let's do one further check. And if you remember that URL that we discussed, now I can see clearly the different components are registered now in the EM3F API, which allows me the connectivity. Now in this moment, I'm in the position to contact my end user and report that this is resolved. Very good. So with this conclude our first demo, and back to the presentation. For this second scenario, our users will report troubles while running any EM utility which requires database authentication, like taking a backup with a utility. To troubleshoot and confirm this problem, we'll use a couple of utilities existing in our Control Enterprise Manager server, and which you can see in the slide. Once identified the issue is with our Oracle server, we'll reach out our DBA to correct the issue and our problem. So let's move to a demo and see live this problem and how to troubleshoot it. Okay, so in this second scenario, remember, our end user called us reporting that he's unable to run any EM utility that requires authentication in the EM. And the first step that we will take is to run the utility. In this case, we'll run a backup to export all my users of the EM. Executing this command, and after providing the right password and getting a connectivity error message which indicate that cannot establish connection to the database. To confirm if we have an issue with the database, the first step that we will take is to run root_menu, which performs a connectivity to the database as well. So once we provide our DBO and password, login failed. Still, we have a connectivity issue. Now, the way to confirm if the issue is with our database, in this case Oracle, will simulate what Control does. And for that, what we will do is to connect to the database using the native SQL client included with the EM installation. For that, we'll run first this command in order to retrieve the Oracle environmental variables as we will need the value of our database which we need to connect to. Once we have the value of our database server name, what we will do is to run the SQL Plus as follows, adding the prefix EM again to load the EM environment. So the syntax is EM SQL Plus, the DBO, in this case EM user, at the database instance names. If I type the password, I have a really good idea of where the issue could be. The error is pointing to an issue with the listener. I don't know if the listener is down or the listener is corrupted. Something is going on with my database. At this stage, I will call my Oracle database, and once I report the problem that we are facing, bear with me, that error we got, he will do the checks that he needs to do to validate the listener status. In this case, he will find that the listener is not running, and after taking the steps to resolve it, in this case, we'll start the listener. Our DBA will report us back that the issue seems to be resolved, and ask us to double check if the issue is fixed. For that, remember the first command that we executed, running the same utility. I'll provide now my password. Bear with me. This is fine, right? Okay. Let me repeat the command. Sometimes it takes a while to bring it up. Okay. We can see that my backup is completed. The issue seems to be resolved. Let's double check and running once again root _ menu. I type my DBO, my password, and now I'm able to log in without any issue. I can call back my end user and report that the problem is gone. All right. So let's go back to our slides, and with this, we finish the demo, and back to our slides. Let's see a small recap about what we discussed during the demo sessions. In the first scenario, we found an issue in our the Thrift web application, which we resolved by redeploying this web application after a restart of the web server. A quick reminder, the directory EM Thrift API should not exist in the web apps folder. You can back it up to another directory or simply delete it. In the other hand, in the second scenario, we found issues connecting to our database server. In the other hand, in the second scenario, we found issues connecting to our database server, which we confirmed connecting natively with the SQL Plus utility. Once we reported it back to our DBA and he resolved it, our problem was gone. Let's move on. And before heading into the Q&A section, I wanted to provide some other useful tips that may help you on a daily basis if you are managing a controlling environment. With the utility, you have many options available to see the status of your EM components. And if you review the knowledge article referring to the slide, it will show you just an example of how powerful this is. As example, you will be able to see who is currently connected to your Control-M Enterprise Manager and even kick off someone in case needed. Talking about troubleshooting issues is very common to encounter TCP connectivity problems, mainly in firewall environments where there are firewalls among the distributed installations. We invite you to review the article in the slide which covers how to proceed and troubleshoot these kind of problems. And this is valid not just for the communication between the control enterprise manager server and client, but also with other components like the controlling server or agents. You can find these knowledge articles in the attachment and presentation of this session. I really hope you found this information helpful. Thank you very much for taking time to join this webinar.